Hey guys, and welcome to another Schematics update. This time we want to talk about the Studio DLC pack again. It was released yesterday and we had a little bit of time to play around with it, so basically that's our review. We don't want to do it like most of the other channels and basically showing you piece by piece, because we already did in our pre-release coverage.
And quite frankly, we don't want to waste your time with an hour-long video.
That as well. We do it a little bit different. We have a list of topics, so basically the patch notes, and we want to talk about the free update first, then the DLC pack, and then talk about our thoughts and feelings about it. And for that we invited a guest, BillyMFMays.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm BillyMFMays. I do content on Twitch, a little bit on YouTube, and I'm here to audibly describe every single piece in the DLC pack.
This is your last time being on the show, Billy. Just a warning.
Yay!
And it's me, AdfoTV. You know me probably if you watch this channel quite often, and you can find my stuff on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.
And hi, I'm Blind. I stream simulation and management games at twitch.tv/BlindIRL, and you can find me at stupidskull.com.
Right, so now Blind. Let's dive into the free update, and we start with hotels.
Okay, so the first thing we have here is hotels, which is part of the free update, as Adfo just mentioned. Essentially, the way they work is they're a selection of modular boxes that you can place, and then whether or not you buy the fancy boxes or the less fancy boxes, they basically act as sort of pseudo rooms, which then you cover with whatever you feel like building. I think that it's a relatively decent way of jury-rigging hotels into a game that, quite frankly, wasn't designed to have hotels in the first place. I don't think this was in their original design doc. In fact, I'd be willing to bet it wasn't. It's just something that we asked for enough, and I think this is a relatively decent solution. I mean, there's probably a more elegant way they could have done it, but I think that this works for everybody. People who just want to have a hotel with more freedom for the design, you can just put the boxes underground. If you are a more casual player, then it kind of forces people to be creative and hide them, which I think is neat, and I'm curious to see what people come up with.
Talking about a more elegant solution, I have my issues with the hotels. Not in general, I like the idea and I like the box thing design. At least for the entrance box, I don't see any point of the room boxes, because as you already mentioned, you can put them underground, you can stack them into one tile. So I totally get the idea that they want to have the rooms represented by these boxes and force you with that to build larger hotels, which is realistic, but in the end it doesn't really matter. My issue with the boxes is it's taking up processing power to render these boxes, no matter if you put them underground or stack them together. We all know the problem that Blind Coaster renders everything, no matter if you see it or not. So I think a more elegant solution would have been the entrance box, sorry for lack of better term, and a drop-down menu there that says, hey, standard rooms, luxury rooms. But that may be just me.
And for me, I feel like there's just no added gameplay with them. It's just how it's always been. It's just that now you have the addition of having guests go to the hotel, which is what a lot of people wanted, but it feels shallow nonetheless.
Well, as I don't disagree with you, Adfo. I do think it's a little silly. I also think that for the more casual side, people who are just playing Planet Coaster, I think it forces a little bit of creativity, and I see a lot of people playing Planet Coaster in kind of a very simple way. You know, I see people downloading cheat boxes from the workshop that just give maximum beauty and stuff, and I think it's neat to give people a reason to be like, okay, well, here's a thing that I have to hide, and giving gameplay reasons to do that, and I think that that's cool. I do also agree that maybe there's a more elegant way they could have done it. Also, it's free. If you don't want to take part in the system, you don't have to.
Totally agree with that point.
So also in the free update, we have triggerable flexicolor lights and other objects, really, which is pretty cool, but it makes the lighting system a little bit more complicated in terms of, like, you can't just turn off a light now in a lot of cases, or with new lights. You have to do a triggerable flexicolor event to be black and then to turn on with a different color. But there's also path tunneling, which works pretty well, works as expected. I just wish you can mold the terrain around path, but it's been that way since release. It probably won't change anytime soon. And there's also triggerable time of day with the new sequencer, and pieces for track rides where you can stop the ride for up to 60 seconds.
Then let's go to the new pieces. glass pieces in various sizes, which I really like. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, they work.
Yep, no, they're great.
I talked with Sylph last night in voice chat about glass, and a thing we agreed on is it's a little bit sad that the glass isn't reflecting the surrounding, but we totally understand why it isn't, because that would cause performance issues.
Yes.
So yes, I totally see the point that some people may be disappointed by that, but hey guys, I mean, seriously.
As far as I'm concerned, it reflects light. And that's enough.
Yes.
If they had to do a transparent object that reflected the environment, they can't do it too much. No game engine can really sustain that for too long. And yeah, that would have broken the game.
Also, we have colorable lit panels in various sizes. I saw them in the stream and I wasn't really a fan of them, but now that I played around with them a little bit, I kind of really like them, and I have a lot of ideas for them. Which I kind of like is they glow in the dark, but they don't emit light.
Yep.
So it doesn't light up the surrounding, which is kind of neat. So another thing is, we already mentioned that in our previous videos, the 4 materials of asphalt and concrete, which are neat, but I'd like to see more spaces for textures in the scenario editor, because right now it's basically, if you have a park, an already built park, and want to add some of the new textures, you have to switch out an old one. That's my only issue with them.
If I can just quickly run through these as well, I think of the colorable lit panels almost as like an addition to the art shapes. They're kind of like just an abstract thing that you can add to the background that makes things seem a little bit more vibrant without actually adding too much to it. You know, you could use it as like a window, you could use it as a lot of interesting background things, which is pretty cool, and I like that. And the 4 new materials of asphalt and concrete I think are very disappointing. I think that they're very useful, but I hate the fact that I have to add them to a custom biome. I have to remove a type of grass or something else to have them, which I think is massively disappointing. I'm very, very disappointed that they didn't give us another biome. I've said before that I would kill for a biome pack. Just give me a couple biomes, please. Like, I will spend $5, $10 on it. Just give me 2 or 3 more biomes.
Yeah.
The game needs more background variety. I just want a city biome so bad.
Yeah, I'd like to see more texture slots for the custom biomes. Also, how thick are the panels? I'm just completely blanking on them. But I think they can probably be used as a substitute for using the old lit up signs for a neon effect on buildings, because they are smaller.
Yes.
They're just super flat. They're just flat.
All right.
So just real quick to everybody here, let's just go around. What do you guys think of the update? Just in general, impressions.
It's neat. I mean, it's a free update. I can't really complain too much about what they added. It doesn't seem like they broke anything in the process, so that's all I can really ask for.
I actually really like it. It's a lot of stuff, looking at the hotels, the triggable time of day, the stopping pieces, the glass, the lit panels. I think it's a lot of stuff for free, and yeah.
I think they absolutely could have thrown the glass behind a paywall.
Ooh.
And you know, honestly, I'm very happy that they didn't, because like I think that was the running joke about Planet Coaster for, man, easily a year, which was, oh, you know, glass DLC, glass DLC, glass DLC, glass DLC. Even I partook in that joke. It was always kind of a funny element, and now they've just added it to the game. Admittedly, it took them a really long time, which kind of sucks. But I also made a box of close to 70,000 panes of glass to see if it would break the game. And it really didn't cause any performance issues. Even with stuff behind it, didn't cause any performance issues. So
I did something similar with gems when the Adventure Pack came out, and yeah, it didn't break anything.
yeah.
And also, there are some quality of life changes in the patch notes we want to real quick talk about.
Real quick, transport rides can now be tested again.
Yay!
I don't know what prompted them to revert that change, but I'm really happy that we can test those again. It'll be lovely to make trains.
Yep, and then you can also set the prestige decline rating in the scenario editor for rides. It's a universal setting, so it's applied globally. You only get 3 choices between how it is on easy challenge mode, medium challenge mode, and hard challenge mode. So it's not really much, so it's alright, I guess, but disappointing.
And another one that struck my eye is the Gold Fever cars now swing when placed on other track types, which I'm not a fan of that, because honestly I would love to see a feature that turn off the swinging on itself on the original track, and I really like that you can just put it on another track and don't have it swinging, so you can basically trying to use it as a ride like the Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland Paris, which isn't working anymore because it now swings, but I think that's just a question of taste.
I like the swinging ride in general. I also don't really place rides on other track types, so...
Oh, I do a lot, actually.
I have used the Gold Fever coaster very little, so, it doesn't affect me, but... more options is always a good thing, I suppose.
Right, let's dive into the paid stuff.
Get out that money.
Let's take a look at what we're getting for our money here. 19 different characters, 127 different character animations, specifically 81 different vehicle items, including 38 vehicle animations, 60 building items, including boutique, commercial, wall pieces, lighting, scaffolding, glossy tile walls, and stucco columns. The stucco columns are interesting because they feel like they're from the very, very early base game, but like slightly different and different enough to be very useful, especially with the original sets. In fact, just going on a tangent for real quick on the building items. The building items are neat because they fit in with a lot of the older sets. So this DLC to me feels like it's tying all the older ones together a little bit, which I think is cool. 24 animated scenery items, 85 static items, including studio backlot and city props, 20 special effects, including electricity arcs, huge explosions, blowing dust, and drifting embers, and glass smashing. I think the glass smashing one is kind of dumb.
And the explosions are huge.
Yes.
I mean, they say they are huge, but they are huge.
With a capital Y.
Yeah.
They are Michael Bay explosions. It's actually kind of interesting because along with the animated items and the building items, a lot of it is in previous themes or even previous items, such as like the water tower, which has been in the game for forever. I think it's kind of interesting that they took assets and then animated them. So these are pieces that we've had before. And I think it's kind of an interesting workaround to add more content to the DLC pack, if that makes sense. Instead of making brand new tile sets and stuff, they just took the old ones and expanded on them, which in all honesty, this is like the closest to a expansion we've ever had. Instead of just a full new theme set, it's like, here, we're expanding on what we've already had, which is cool, and I like that.
For me, it is a case where like I can respect everything in the pack, but a lot of it just isn't for me. It feels a lot like, especially with all the animatronics, it's more of a dark ride kind of focus here for the rides that we'll talk about later, which is understandable, but yeah, I just feel like, oh yeah, it's not for me. I'm not really going to be playing around with animatronics that much. I wish the building sets were a little bit, like, I wish you could have the doors as a single modular piece instead of being part of a wall set.
Yeah, those doors are pretty awesome too.
Yeah, they are, which makes me really sad that I can't just take the doors, put them anywhere in any way I want. Other than that, though, like, yeah, I respect everything in the pack, or all the animatronics at least, but I just don't see myself using them too much.
I'm kind of with you there.
The animations are so good as usual, and it's really a lot. But worth mentioning real quick is there are 19 new scenery blueprints, which I will never use, and a lot of new audio, including music, tracks, ambience, and triggerable sound effects.
See, that's the stuff that I will never notice in the game because I'm going to be listening to my classic rock and jamming.
Exactly.
Seriously, hats off to Frontier and their audio team. Yes. They're absolutely amazing at what they do. It's just not how I played Planet Coaster, unfortunately. Final thought. The amount of backstage stuff that was added is cool. That I think is the biggest part of this pack.
Well, to us, it's the bigger parts are like the smaller things, but to a lot of people, it's going to be the 3 brand new rides in the DLC.
Ooh,
and
segue.
It's the big screen tour, the Remotion, and Horror Heights. And rides are cool. What about you guys? What do you guys think?
I don't think I'm going to use any of these ever with the exception of the bus. I was talking about this earlier. Horror Heights specifically, I think is our fault.
Kind of.
The hardcore community, we've been asking and begging for rides that have no theme, and I think this is like 3 steps too far. They made a very long, slow flat ride, as Billy's mentioned before, has terrible guest run through, so you can't actually get that many guests on it, and it's completely unthemed. And I think most casual players will never actually use it. And I don't think I will ever actually use it. And I really like Tower of Terror. The reason I won't is because I don't like making triggered sets. I don't like using the display sequencer.
A big problem is that since it has no theming, which a lot of people are happy about, but it has no customization either. You can't really modify the ride sequence that much. And
yeah,
they kind of miss the mark a little bit with how the ride operates because, your elevator car is in a lift that is able able to go up as fast as it wants and down as fast as it wants. And you can't really see if it actually is like going down faster than the speed of gravity or if it's going up really quickly, because that's part of the thrill of Tower of Terror in the first place. So it feels like it does miss the mark a little bit.
I know a few people were commenting that it should have been a tracked ride instead of a flat ride, whereas I don't fully agree with that. I think that it's good the way it is. If they were going to go this route, they had to give it more customization. And as far as the arm ride goes, the remotion, it's not for me. I think Fog hit the nail on the head. It's a camera gimbal. I don't think I'll ever build one of those because I don't really build that type of ride, but you know, there's people out there that are very excited for that, so that's great. And the big screen tour, I think, is fantastic, and that's probably the one that I will use in the future.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, my main issue with remotion, though, is just that there aren't many rides out there that exist in that form. You just don't know how to build it.
Yeah, but you know, there are some very creative people in the Planet Coaster community, and I guarantee you they are going to blow your mind in about 2 weeks.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, quick round, guys. What do you think about the pack?
I like it well enough. I feel like it is something that I could probably miss it and not really be that affected by it if I didn't have it installed or didn't have it purchased. It's all right. That's it.
The way I see this is end of season 1 of paid DLC for Planet Coaster. We had the Spooky Pack, which gave us a lot of pieces that were usable in Western themes, like country themes, a lot of very rustic themes, all of that stuff. Then we had the Adventure Pack, which gave us tons of foliage and some very useful recolorable pieces, which could be used for stucco themes, as well as like Indiana Jones type stuff and adventure stuff and tropical stuff. And now we have this, which has a bunch of multi-purpose pieces, which are all very generic, which give us a lot of universal backlot city style stuff that's very useful, as well as just like a bunch of random animated stuff, because why not have a crashing train? And I think that that is a really interesting way to kind of tie all of the DLCs together. As far as what do I think of it, I don't think I'm quite like Billy. I don't think I could live without this. I can never not have the glass windows again.
Which are not part of the pack.
No, I'm talking about the glass windows that are part of the pack.
Right.
The glass windows in the storefronts.
Oh,
because I like building in that stucco style. I really, really, really do. And I built a scene yesterday, which was just like a film set. It had a bus stop, it had a subway, it had a sort of like half abandoned storefront with like some apartments above it. I tried to just use as many of the new pieces as I could to try and get an idea of how they could all be used. And yeah, no, I couldn't go without this pack. At this point, I think like there's a lot of stuff in it that I won't use, which is a lot of the animated stuff. But overall, I was kind of mixed on it when I first saw it, because I was like, oh, you know, this is all dark ride stuff. But then when I started messing around, especially with like more backstagey items, the garbage, the city street stuff, the street lights, the traffic lights, yeah, no, this is something that was made for me in a lot of ways, especially like some of the smaller pieces. And that chain link fence, good God, like there is a lot of stuff in this pack to like, and I think that there's something in this pack for everybody, which I think is very important, because if you want to sell a pack to a group of people, you need something for literally every portion of the audience. You've got something for the dark ride people, you got something for the detailing backstage people, you got stuff for people who just like building cities. You've got stuff for everybody here, and I think that's really cool.
And I'm torn, and I definitely need to explain Blind next time what a quick round is.
Sorry.
Because I want to go into the conclusion part now.
I'll just like take this and put it in the conclusion.
Question to you guys. What do you like better, the free stuff or the DLC?
DLC.
I think I'll get more use out of the stuff in the free pack, but it can be mixed because there are some great fences in the DLC that I'm probably going to be using a lot.
Yep.
I'm going to lean towards the free stuff just because glass is pretty awesome, and I've had a storefront idea for a while, and I think I can finally do it now with glass.
I tend toward the free stuff. I just love the glass, and yeah, I see a lot of use for the colorable panels. I totally underrated them in the pre-release phase when we saw them the first time.
I would lean for the DLC. If I can have one or the other, I would just go for glass. But at the same time, I do like the stuff in the DLC more than the free stuff. Like, I will use those paint planes of glass, but maybe not as much as some other people.
How multi-purpose do you think is this DLC? Because we see, as Blind mentioned in his quick round, a lot of animatronic stuff that is very specific.
Yeah, there's a lot of animatronic stuff that's very specific, but at the same time, we also have, as I mentioned in my long round, I guess, we also have a lot of repurposed stuff from the base game which fits in with everything else. So not only do we get the animatronic stuff that's very specific, but we also have animated items that work with the old themes, as well as a lot of new items and building blocks that work with everything. So I think it's a mix of both. There's some very specific stuff and some very open-ended stuff.
Yeah, I think it's also pretty multi-purpose. It's a case where this pack is going to work for any kind of theme park you're wanting to make. There's a lot of backstage pieces too, like not just fences, but there's even a power generator, which is pretty cool. You know, boxes and trash cans, all that fun stuff. It's versatile. It's very versatile.
And the next question, who should buy the DLC? In your opinion, and who not?
You probably can't go horribly wrong if you bought this DLC, even if you use very few of the pieces, because the pieces that you probably would use are going to be saving you a lot of time. If you're making a parking lot and want to make cars, it's going to save you a lot of time.
Yeah.
Same thing with fences or power generators or anything like that. But it's also a DLC that you could live without because you can still spend that time to make those things anyway. Yeah, it's one of those things to where there isn't really somebody that jumps out and says, yeah, you need to buy this DLC for sure, unless you want to do maybe some heavy multimedia rides where you have, you know, you're using the OmniMax screens and, you know, using all the new ride types and making these very theatrical, low space requirement rides. Outside of that, it's pretty much just a neutral ground.
I don't really have a comment of who should buy it. I do have a comment of who shouldn't buy it.
Go for it.
The people who shouldn't buy it are people who are less into the creative side of Planet Coaster. So if you just not caring so much about scenery, I would give this one a pass because the rides are all pretty advanced and everything is kind of on the tricky side to use, with the exception of some of the building blocks, which, as I said, fit in with the other scene themes. Who should buy it though? Anybody who likes doing backstage detailing of any kind, guaranteed. Or if you just feel like having more animated objects, you know, like if you've ever sat there and thought, man, I wish I had an animated this.
That's a fair point. It's definitely a more advanced DLC, not really for the beginners or maybe even the intermediate players.
I really like that you totally go into the route that I was intending, because my thoughts are people who are totally into dark rides or a lot of animation stuff should definitely buy this pack.
100%, yeah.
As well as people who like to build in a realistic way. So parking lots, backstage stuff, go for it. A lot of stuff is in this pack. You will save a lot of time, as Billy said, and a lot of stress and pieces.
Also, someone in my chat yesterday stated that they saved 150,000 pieces on their park just by deleting all the cars and replacing all the cars and replacing all the gems that they'd used for glass.
Wow.
So for you hardcore detail builders out there, this is a must buy for the cars alone. Also, like chain link fences are stuff that we're using so many pieces before.
So is this DLC worth the price, in your opinion?
Yeah.
The amount of quality and animated objects, absolutely.
Even if you don't like everything in it, you still get as much as you got from the other packs, as much quality into those pieces too.
There's something in there for just about everybody, and if this was from another publisher, it would cost $25 because of the amount of quality and amazing animated items in there.
I totally agree, and first of all, thanks Billy for joining this time again.
No problem, thank you for having me.
Sure. And for our listeners and viewers, thanks a lot for listening and viewing. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions whatsoever, feel free to use our wonderful comment section under the video. See you next time. Bye.